with Brian, trimmer on board Alinghi Red Bull Racing. You had a 3-hour session with increasing and puffy wind conditions and long waves and tricky sea state. How difficult was to sail today with a low ride so the rudder was not coming out from the water, but also then having so much waves crashing on the bow?
It's always the big deal with those conditions. Try to keep the rudder inside the water. We had a few ventilation even on the rudder, but nothing bad. And it's part of the learn how to keep the boat low without touching the hull, and it was good practice today.
And we saw you in a couple of occasions hesitating with both oils down before the jibe. Were you looking for stability or were you struggling at some points?
Yeah, what's difficult during the jibe is to keep the boat low in the water, and especially finding the right timing with the wave. So we were quite a lot that today, and it going in the right direction.
Okay. And during the beginning of the session, you have been able to test the newest declared skin versions of the J3 before the wind increased and you hoisted the J4. How happy are you with those new skins?
They are not new, it's just wholesale that we're not using often, and it's just still working on the shape and on our way to trim those sails.
Okay.
But we are happy with it.
And while sailing upwind on starboard tack, you had a close call with a capsize that you recovered. It looked like the rudder came out of the water and you lost the control. Did you?
Yeah, so we have I think a ventilation event on the rudder. It's hard to say now. We have to look the footage and the data. But I think it's what happened. Sailing a bit too high, not enough margin with the rudder immersion, and lost it.
And were you in the windward side?
No, I was in leeward.
Okay. In case of being there, what's the process for you as a trimmer to save the situation?
The goal is when you lose the rudder, the boat is pretty much out of control. So the goal is just to ease the sail, make ready for the landing, and try to save it if it's possible.
And no matter that, you were apparently very confident in the maneuvers today, right?
I think we're getting more and more confident with the sea state and the wind. We have better control of the boat today than a few months ago, so it's working well.
And you came back at 2:30 after a 3-hour session. Were you expecting more wind, and that explains the early wrap?
No, I think we was really happy with what we done on the water today, so it's why we didn't push much longer on the water. Also, we're using quite a lot our cyclers, so it's good to give them rest.
Okay.
Peter Burling, you were helming on the starboard side on the Emirates Team New Zealand AC75 today. It looked like a breezy day by the end, but can you just describe the conditions we experienced today?
Yeah, it was really nice conditions out there today. We're obviously, everyone saw the same in the forecast, probably with a nice building breeze. We were pretty happy not seeing the top end of it and just going out and having a nice session in the waves that were kind of coming from both directions, and the build of the breeze. So yeah, it was a nice day, nice to try a few things and keep pushing forward.
What was the range of breeze you saw today?
We're pretty sure about 10 to 18. I think we started off at about, seeing some bottoms of 10 and then just slowly ramped as the day went on, especially towards the bottom of the area we're sailing in.
We've seen you guys working on the racecourse area that will be used for the Cup next year. You seem to expand that today. You went quite a long way downwind. Was that just because you wanted to get the time in the waves?
Yeah, the waves weren't quite wrapping into the racecourse, so we did a few laps around there and spent a bit of time around there, and then but also kind of pushed further down into a bit more breeze, a bit more waves at times as well, which was really nice to do, and just working on a couple of technique-y kind of things to try and make sure we can maximise the performance of the boat.
Sailing, as a helmsman sailing in those waves, which is worst, the kind of long swell or the steep chop?
I think both are tricky for different reasons. The long swell obviously has, you have to deal with it a lot more, where the short chops a bit more like you're kind of lucky or you're not, with kind of how you punch through them. But yeah, no, they're both really good fun, and I think really challenge the sailing teams, and yeah, it's a really interesting aspect to sailing in Barcelona.
Sailing in those waves, do you think is going to be a big part of the Cup itself? We can probably expect a little bit for the Challenger Series. Is it a bit of a surprise that it's so bumpy out there at this time of year?
Well, I think the Cup's at a really interesting time. It's right at the end of summer, and just the first few systems are starting to push across the top of Spain. So yeah, I don't think anyone will be out at the end of this week with a huge swell coming. So yeah, it's quite interesting to just get comfortable and those kind of upper end swell conditions. But yeah, there's definitely a chance there could be plenty of waves.
We saw the AC40s out there as well today, several of them. It looks a lot harder for those guys in the smaller boats. The big boat seems to deal with these conditions, as we would expect, much better.
Yeah, a lot of the 40s were staying in relatively close. But yeah, the big boat's just got so much more momentum that you can kind of jump out or touch down through one, and you don't slow down anywhere near as much, and it's pretty easy to kind of recover and carry on. So yeah, I mean, the big boats just with anything with scale kind of makes the waves seem smaller, which is probably makes your life pretty hard in the chase boat.
Certainly did. Couple of days off now because the breeze and the waves are going to be too big. Then you've probably got about 5 days of sailing time left. What's left to tick off with the 75?
Yeah, we've got a couple of mods through this little period off, and then one more little push through to the end, and it's really, I suppose, just getting to know the venue and how it changes, and this late in the summer or into the next season. But yeah, we're really loving getting to spend some time on the AC75 for last time over the Cup period, and it's definitely pretty invaluable.
We are here with Terry Hutchinson, skipper and president of sailing operations at New York Yacht Club American Magic, challenger of the 37th America's Cup. Terry, could you tell us which were the goals for today?
Well, what were the goals today? The goals were to two-boat race on the race course that we'll be sailing the 37th America's Cup on, in different sea state and different wind strengths than what we've seen in the past. And so, it was a hard day. It would have been a hard day in the to race the 40, the 75 being a bigger platform probably, as we were seeing with Alinghi and Team New Zealand ripping around. It was a pretty good day.
So in these conditions of strong winds and big swells, which are the different adjustments that the trimmers can do on the boat in order to prevent ventilation and nose diving, especially when sailing downwind and when doing maneuvers?
Yeah, I think the true challenge to maintain a steady platform starts with the helmsman sailing around, putting the boat in a good spot in the waves. I think, as you just rightfully pointed out, it's very easy for one of these boats to sail through the waves, and so the helmsman managing how they sail through the waves, the trimmers setting the sails up so they're balanced enough, and from a foil perspective, keeping the platform in a spot that it's never too far wrong. because all three of those things locked in will keep the boat going in a straight line pretty nicely. Very challenging though.
Then during the last 2 weeks, the focus has been on the development of foil wings and foil flaps, and we noticed some modifications on the starboard side flap of America. What are you trying to achieve in terms of design with those changes?
Well, I think what we're trying to achieve, and probably really what all the teams are trying to achieve, I mean, the beauty of a day like today is it's very, very challenging. And so, we all face this struggle of you're never going to make a slow foil fast, and yet a foil that can perform well enough in different conditions that keeps the boat out of the water. I mean, as we saw today, all of our family of foils each one has its little strength and weakness, and yet all it takes is the boat to fall out of the sky once and the race is over. And so you work very, very hard on making sure that the subtle little changes that we're working to improve ventilation, as an example.
Do you think the design of the final foils for the AC75 will be in line with any of these foils in particular?
Well, you'd be disappointed if it wasn't, because we've been testing them since June, actually since April. So I would think, when you look across the fleet, you see all the teams have similar areas and similar concepts of foils, and so really the subtleties is the difference in how the foils perform across the range.
Then now moving into the sails, even though it was not the main focus during the last 2 weeks, I noticed that on your component declaration form that you haven't tested so far any J3s. What's the reason for that?
Money.
Okay.
Everything costs money, and so we're trying to make sure that we're being smart with our resource. And so to spend that resource on a J3 for an AC40 doesn't seem like a prudent move. And the threes that are the one design sails are nice sails, and so they fit the build.
So definitely you are allocating, can we say that you're allocating more resources for lighter wind conditions components and not so much for stronger wind conditions components?
No, because you were asking me about the J3s, so that's not actually what I said. What I said was the J3s are nice, and we're balancing our resource to use it in other areas. We have to support this recon program, which is wonderful, and you guys are great guys, so we got to take care of that, and all the fuel to chase these incredible pieces of equipment around. So,
okay, and thank you for those accomplishments.
Thank you.
Last question. So we have, I think, 1, 2, or 3 days remaining with the two boats testing in your planning. Have you been able so far to test everything you wanted to test?
I think we're chipping through the list. I do. I think you see a day like today, and it reminds you really how hard this is. And we're doing it at a smaller scale, and so when we saw Alinghi or Team New Zealand sail by on the bigger platform, it's a heavier platform, it's a more stable platform. It's a good reminder of what we're testing on right now, but where we're going, and how what might be really hard in the 40 might not be so hard in the 75. And so with that lens, you have to continue to trust the experience of the sailors and the designers to see which ones you pick and choose from.